Lucifer sat on his throne room, bored out of his mind, tapping one of his fingers on the armrest, while his butler, Preminger, summoned wooden mannequins dressed in various formal wear before him for demonstration. A special occasion was today. One of the higher families of hell was celebrating the birthday of one of their daughters. A unique sinner-born family, all terrible people in life, of course. They shared a powerful familiar bond with each other that even survived down here. Currently it were the family patriarch and his 2 children, followed by their own families as well, a full clan of 10 different demons, that in recent years only had been diminished by a whole 3 during exterminations. As they had fought together, they can take an angel down and steal their weapon, without themselves being armed with divine weaponry. The family had become royalty due to the diligent work of the patriarch. By now the guy had grown to the size of a small house, a fat, heaving monstrosity, body covered in scars from angel weapons that quite frankly were too small to penetrate the demon's thick, leathery, fat hide. He delighted in the useless attempts at exterminating him, to the point that the prideful man sat outside during the purge, in the family's pool, drinking wine, laughing at the flames. His pride would someday catch up with him, once Adam would notice him. After all, the angel commander would deal with him swiftly. Of course, Lucifer had no reason to attend the birthday. However, he had been formally invited. And the last time he ignored a formal invitation, it led to way too much media trouble. Not for Lucifer, of course, but for the demon who had invited him. Lucifer would have ignored it after all, he didn't really care, but when his daughter Charlie found out, she was in tears. And ever since then, he attended the parties of the upper echelon of the circle, should a formal invitation be made. Hell, he made the invitation process inconvenient as possible, though considering the upper cluster of hell was incredibly powerful and decadent, they just paid someone to go through the process. This was Lucifer's 5th party this year, and the 3rd party at this specific demon family's home. "I want that," he huffed, causing Preminger to look at the clothing. "That is what you normally wear, sire." "Yeah. What's so bad about it?" Preminger, Lucifer's butler, sighed.
"Sire, these events are important to your subjects, and you should treat them with just enough respect to prevent any controversy."
Meh. Preminger blinked, but his expression didn't change. "Fine." But instead of letting Prim change the clothes, Lucifer just snapped his fingers, causing the colors of the outfit to turn black. "There, happy?" Prim blinked.
"Very 16th century vampire, my liege."
Lucifer rolled his eyes. The butler's comment was neither a compliment nor an insult. After a second snip of his fingers, the clothes were blanked onto his body. "I still want to go."
"Sir, I am certain that tonight will be different. You may end up enjoying yourself a lot."
Cautiously, Lucifer raised an eyebrow, as Preminger just stood there, with his usual deadpan. You sighed deeply. It was your birthday, and yet you didn't feel like celebrating. You were the currently youngest daughter of the Dunwich family in hell. A family who was stinking rich, famous, and powerful both on earth as well as in hell. Your father, Lord Oliver Barnabas Fitzgerald Dunwich III, and yes, he always had to introduce himself with his full name and title to anyone he met, told the story of your family to anyone who asked, and anyone who didn't. By now you had heard it for the 4th time this day alone. In the 40s, your great-great-great-grandpa was surrounded by German soldiers, and in exchange for his life and soul, he demanded fame and fortune as a war hero, and of course, survival. And so he sold his soul to a hellborn dealmaker. The problem was that the contract included every family member of your bloodline for eternity. After he realized his mistake, after appearing as a sinner born, he worked hard to allow his son and any other family member a great unlife, especially if they were turned into a horrible monster. As a matter of fact, your brother Jeffrey, due to the various crimes and sins he committed in life, had turned into one of the most disgusting demons hell had to offer, a monstrosity of sin. And your great-great-grandpa had used his power to even grant the thing your brother had become a rather comfortable life, though luckily still he was banished to the basement. Sure, it was great being rich, and it was great being rich in death, but your family had turned from relatively distant and pompous to complete and utter control freaks down here, as if they were role-playing actual medieval royalty. With powdered wigs, constant parties, old-timey European food and clothing, classical music, even though you knew for a fact your mother hated classical music. She just pretended, just to seem more decadent. And they always spouted the same never-ending dribble of how great they were, since you were the youngest, only having died a few years ago during a very, very drug-filled frat party on Earth. You still weren't used to it, and neither did you enjoy it. Your parents just had changed. In hell you had become an Onryo, a rather common demon type, born out of a sinner's anger and hatred during their final moments, usually found in the rough layers of hell, but due to your family being the way it is, well, the pride layer seemed fitting to you. In your case, your boyfriend had not only broken up with you, but during a drug bender during the frat party, he had drowned you in the sororitas jacuzzi. Something that was reflected by your slightly bluish skin. You had red eyes and long black hair that reached down to your hips. You couldn't wait for your ex to finally kick the bucket. You'd make hell for him. Nevertheless, you're still stuck in this party, throne in your honor, sitting on a silver throne, and put in a green satin dress, even though you hated the feeling of satin on your skin. Your father and mother sitting left and right of you with smug expressions, as a line of brave suitors was standing before you, while the party was in full swing. Longingly, you stared at the 5-layered cream cake your parents had ordered to be made for you, each layer big enough and delicious-looking to be its own dessert. Your suitors were various bachelors from the upper cluster, as well as other demon overlords who, unlike the demons of the echelon, still actually worked. They honestly were more interesting pigs, but you didn't feel like getting married, at least not yet. After all, you had basically just died. Your gaze shifted from the cake to the center of the ballroom. The dancing hasn't started yet, as guests were still coming in. The ballroom was a beautiful Baroque hall made out of white polished marble with intricate golden finishes, with beautiful large oil paintings depicting various places on both Earth and Hell strung up on the walls. Classical music was provided by a group of talented musicians under contract of your great-great-grandfather. whose glossy, inflated body was somewhere outside right now, probably smoking his pipe, enjoying his death. Like all demons in the upper cluster, you were so stinking rich and powerful that bothering with the day-to-day happenings in the rest of Hell was just beneath you. Another suitor tried to get your attention. This one seemed to be important, as your mother, who had become a weird fox furry thing in Hell, still a weird thing to both see and say, nudged against your shoulder. "Oh, the Eldritch boy! He has recently broken up with little Charlie Morningstar, hasn't he? Probably just a few years." The bachelor's green smile was annoying you, but you knew exactly how to deal with that. You scoffed, forcing a grin. "Ugh, as if I bother with the leftovers of the princess. Besides, isn't the princess dating a woman now? There has to be a reason for that also." Now that hurt the demon's pride. You could see it in his eyes. Even your father needed to avert his gaze to avoid showing his amusement by your comment. The demon wanted to retort something, but even though the Von Eldritch son was quite the ignorant individual, he knew not to upset your family. The Dunwich and the Eldritch had been long-time allies, and an insult such as this just sadly had to be forgiven. If anything, he saw your bratty behavior as a challenge, and he would certainly try again sometime. And so, he still smiled and left the line of suitors, turning to the other guests. Meanwhile, Lucifer had arrived at your party, managing to dodge the imp who was loudly announcing every new arrival to the party. He just wanted someone of your family to see him, confirm he had been here, and then go. But as he walked past the tables covered with various meals and desserts, his mouth watered, finger going over one of the creamy desserts. So enamored by the display that he was sucking on his fingers, he bumped into the end of the line of suitors. "Hey, watch out, whoa. The demon fell on his knees. "I'm so sorry, my lord." This caused the suitor in front of him to turn his head also, and soon they all stepped aside, creating a line for Lucifer as they bowed respectfully before him. The King of Hell suppressed the urge to roll his eyes and groan, while your own widened in surprise. Both your mother and father jumped out of their seats, overjoyed that someone as important as Lucifer himself would seemingly be interested in you. The fallen angel gulped as your parents descended on him, showering him with compliments as they pushed him towards you, gently but thoroughly. God damn it, he thought. What the fuck did I just do? Blushing, your dad pulled you off of your throne, almost shoving you into Lucifer. As you stood before him, unable to come up with anything to say, he inhaled. This situation required quick thinking. How about a dance? Oh god, why did I just say that? Was the first thought that came to him. To avoid a public faux pas, he was now forced to do this with you. The musicians were ordered to play a slow waltz, officially calling in the first dance of the night. Hand in hand, in the middle of the ballroom, you began your elegant dance, or more, dance. Lucifer was honestly surprised. You didn't step on his feet, nor did you feel heavy in his arms. Of course, your parents, even in life, made sure that etiquette and dancing were things that came naturally to you, through repeatedly forcing it into your skull. You're quite good at this, miss. You snickered. It seems as if my king doesn't even know the name of his partner, is it? Oh, my liege, do you not even know the name of your dancing partner? Huh. Maybe your parents' pompous manner of speaking did influence your lingo just a tiny bit after all. Well, I wouldn't say that. You smirked. Then what is my name, my lord? He gulped loudly, pulling you closer to stay in sync with the other dancers. Quickly, you whispered into his ear your chosen hell name. Eliza. He smiled. Thanks. Lucifer blushed a little. He had expected you to be offended, maybe even kick him out, but, well, maybe, but you weren't your mother or older sister. Once again, the dance required you to get close, looking into each other's eyes for a moment. Are you really interested in me, my lord? Or was this a mistake? He forced a smile. I suppose that depends, Eliza. On what? How this evening goes. You blushed, giving him a delighted little smile. Lucifer, you old hound, you still got it, he thought. After the dance, and indulging on cake, you and the King of Hell ended up walking alone in your garden. The music very faintly echoing over the area. He had his hands folded behind his back. I'm always surprised to see plants grow down here, he said, admiring the rose bushes around you and him. You huffed amused. Well, it's expensive. Really something you can brag with if someone understands. Well, I do. After all, I spent quite a lot of time down here. Just so you know, Eliza, the beauty of these flowers is only outshined by your radiance. You blushed hard, exhaling loudly with a slight whimper, before saying, I know you spent a lot of time here, my lord. You said quickly to pretend you didn't hear him flirting with you. My dad used to be a Christian at some point. I could say I read a lot about you. He laughed, but it wasn't his fake laugh. He was genuinely amused by your comment. I must say I quite enjoy your personality. You pulled suddenly at your dress to make your cleavage appear bigger while he was looking away. Only personality? His eyes for a moment went exactly where you wanted them. But he stayed cool, only a mild blush betraying his words. Well, I suppose you are quite attractive as well, Eliza. Gently, you leaned yourself against him. So, have I entertained you enough, my liege? You know I have a daughter, right? You bit your lower lip. And technically she is older than you too. You almost chuckled at that. Yes, but I suppose someone as timeless as you, my lord, that is only a mere suggestion. He thought loudly with a hum. To be fair, Charlie's reaction may be priceless. And Prim did tell him to get over his divorce with Lilith. So why not? Live a little. He took your hand, making you blush in surprise. Quickly, he stepped before you, his other hand gently placed on your cheek, thumb brushing over the skin of your face. Your eyes widened. Well, consider yourself the luckiest sinner of hell. Let's go out together and see where this goes from there, shall we? If you could melt in this moment, you would. You leaned forward a little. A kiss. Isn't it a little early, my darling? I'm sorry, my lord. You muttered, but he just smiled, gently pecking your lips with his. Your heart pounded. The kiss only lasted for a second and a half, but it was enough to make your face turn blue out of embarrassment. My lord, you are quite the charmer. Amused, he smirked. Well, didn't you know I was history's first heartthrob? Hey, thank you for watching my video until the very end. I'm very glad you enjoyed it so far. But before I say goodbye, I would like to shout out all of my lovely high-tier channel members. Twilight, Zoe, Angel, Angry Boxman, Chasta Misery, Hella, Bitbit, Melofia, Anonymous Weep, Sleepy Town, Zachary, Nicodemus D, Ash Wisdom, Ikea, The Tribute, and AJ Anime Girl. Lastly, I'd like to thank all of my other channel members. You're all wonderful little mates. Thank you for watching. Bye.